Hi, welcome to Loft Data 1. My name is Diego, and today I'm talking about Tumbbad. It is an Indian rain-soaked fable horror about greed and plays like a Brothers Grimm nightmare. The opening statement, "The world has enough for everyone's need, but not for everyone's greed," immediately tells you what the theme and focus of this movie is. FYI, this review will contain minor spoilers as I talk about the folklore in the movie and explain the general premise. The intro storybook narration is epic in scope. When the universe was created, the goddess of prosperity had 160 million children. However, she loved her firstborn above all, Hastar. However, his name was erased from all ancient scriptures because of his wickedness and greed. The goddess provided unlimited gold and food for her children, but Hastar stole the gold. When he tried to steal the food, he was attacked by his siblings. Before he could be erased into eternity, the goddess took pity and placed him in her womb. There, he would never be worshipped, forgotten forever. For eons, he slept in her womb, but one day the ancestors of our main character, Vinayak Rao, invoked him and built a shrine in his name. Since that day, the wrath of the gods has rained down on Tumbbad, and Hastar's curse was a boon for the family. This narration and exposition are awesome. They immediately tell us that this movie is mythological and Herculean. The film takes this old wives' tale vibes and fully runs with it in an immersive way. Also, since this Indian mythology is fictional, I love how it can be explained away with Hastar's name being removed from ancient texts. Little details like that make this movie immersive. The film has 3 chapters. In the first one, we see Vinayak's life as a kid and how his family tended to a monstrous great-great-grandmother. She's a crone and must be fed to remain in a sleeping and slumbering state. The first chapter immediately sets Vinayak up as a greedy child. The crone offers him the location of a great treasure in exchange for food and freedom from her room. Before he can get the information, he's forced to leave Tumbbad. Chapter 2 takes place 15 years later. Vinayak returns to the crone for information on the treasure, and his highs and lows play out from there. Again, as a child, Vinayak was greedy. He would tell his mother not to help the local lord unless he paid her a promised gold coin. He dreamed of a treasure trove that would lift them out of poverty. Even as he's forced to leave Tumbbad, he fights to remain so that he can search for the treasure. The love of money is the root of all evil, and young Vinayak did not understand this. Chapter by chapter, the film becomes a multi-decade parable showing the discontentment with greed. You could have the world, but it will never be enough. You'll want more and more, not realizing that greed grows, multiplies, and devours legacy and soul. One of the things that floored me in this movie was the production design. For example, the great-great-grandmother, the crone, looked incredible in this movie. I was blown away with how good the prosthetic makeup was. She looked like a burn victim and reminded me of the crones from The Witcher 3. She was clearly suffering in pain and desperate. In some ways, she reminded me of Harold from Fallout 3 or even the witch from Hansel and Gretel. Another example of great production was Vinayak's childhood home. As a child, it was rundown and functional at best. When he returns 15 years later, it's overgrown with shrubbery, vines, and support beams have caved in. There's dust and spider webs everywhere. It fully makes you feel like 15 years have passed and like the home was lost to the elements. A big part of why the production design feels so real is because it was. Filmed in the real village of Tumbbad and other villages in India during monsoon seasons, Tumbbad is perfectly gray, gloomy, and wet. The production perfectly sells the timeless rot of Tumbbad. Walls are stained with constant damp. This is most noticeable in the mansion in Tumbbad, which is also a real mansion called the Purandarewada. The dilapidated state of the home fits the story perfectly and makes you feel like the rain decayed everything. I love that within homes, scenes were shot with lanterns and oil lamps. They added to the period authenticity and still provided clear visibility during dark scenes. I'm going to quickly talk about some major spoilers here because I want to praise the production a little bit more. So please click away, you've got 5 seconds. Alright, time's up. The goddess's womb was incredibly gross. It was red, slimy, and the walls quivered and breathed. It looked hellish and demonic to me. It was a perfectly scary setting deep within the grounds of the mansion. Even scarier, Hastar looked terrifying. He looked like a demon straight from hell. Blood red, grotesque, with black eyes and voidless teeth. I think the scariest thing about him was that he looked humanoid and wore gold bracelets and a golden crown. He looked like a feral prince of darkness. In fact, think of a feral ghoul from Fallout, but make it slimier, bloodier, and dial up the demon energy by 10. I admire this movie so much for choosing to work with practical effects rather than CGI. Hastar could have easily been a CGI monster, but instead they used a real actor and took 6 to 7 hours each day to do his makeup. The commitment to physical prosthetics and set pieces genuinely elevate this movie. Okay, spoilers over. Vinayak Rao is portrayed by Sohumshah. He is equal parts scrappy survivor and seduced opportunist. Across Across the chapters, I love how he aged. It was very convincing. Shah's portrayal is the backbone of the film. He's hardened, cynical, ambitious, and obsessed, but at the same time, he has a rugged charisma to him. He feels Shakespearean at times with the decisions he makes. Shah never overacts and instead gives us a controlled performance, letting the greed and pride quietly consume him. Greed doesn't make him rich, it makes him hollow. The supporting cast are all great too. I enjoyed Jyoti Malsh as Vinayak's mother. She's the film's emotional anchor and moral compass in the first chapter. She believes in restraint, duty, and consequence, and I love how she scolded her son and condemned Vinayak's greed. Anita Date is great as Vinayak's wife. She brings the emotional weight to the domestic side of the story. She represents the cost of greed on Vinayak's family. She's loyal but weary and forced into a life of humiliation, constantly overshadowed by Vinayak's mistress. Her small glances show that greed doesn't just destroy the greedy, but it corrodes everyone around them. The mistress is an interesting character because she is another representation of Vinayak's greed. He wasn't happy with one woman, one wife, so instead he treats the mistress with the tenderness he denies his wife. However, there's no true affection there. Their relationship is transactional, much like his relationship with wealth. Greed poisons love and everything else becomes an exchange. The final character I want to mention is Vinayak's son, Pandurang. Portrayed by Rudra Soni, he gives the later half of the film its tragic irony. He is a reflection of his father, clever, ambitious, and corrupted by the idea that more is never enough. The father-son chemistry between Sunny and Shah feels believable. It's both loving and manipulative. All the supporting cast members help flesh out this mythic morality play. They make it feel intimate, tragic, and universal all at once. The final things I want to mention are the pacing and the score. Running for an hour and 44 minutes, this movie goes by in a flash. I think it was the perfect runtime. I was never bored but always engaged and very interested in the settings and prosthetics. This movie built an incredible environment which is further enhanced by the epic score. I love how Indian movies give their title songs a powerful identity. It fits perfectly with this fable of a story. In addition to the epicness, there are some quieter songs that help add to the tension and eeriness. The score feels like it was born inside the womb of the goddess, and you can feel that with the low frequencies and textures that seem to echo from underground. Another interesting aspect to the score, or I guess the sound design, is the rain. It's constant in Tumbbad. I love the ambience and moodiness it brings to the film and the occasional thunder. They blend seamlessly with the film's score. Tumbbad is one of the most unique horror fantasy films I've ever seen. It's a mesmerizing blend of mythology, greed, and atmosphere that feels both timeless and hauntingly human. It's not a movie built on jump scares or shock value, but on the slow, ritualistic decay of a man who believes more is never enough. The visuals are soaked in rain and rot, and the soundscape hums with divine hunger, and every frame feels crafted with purpose. What I love most is how Tumbbad manages to feel like an old legend brought to life. It is equal parts myth, morality tale, and nightmare. The prosthetics, set design, and sound design all work together to make this world feel tactile and cursed, like it truly exists somewhere forgotten by time. Sohumshah's performance holds it all together, carrying us through decades of obsession until greed literally consumes everything. Tumbbad is the perfect example of why I love international cinema. If you're in the mood for something mythic, eerie, and visually stunning, I can happily recommend this movie. Thank you for listening to my review of Tumbbad. If you enjoyed the content, leave a like and hit subscribe. If you did not enjoy the content, I'm sending Hastar after you. As always, I would love to read what you have to say, so leave a comment and let me know what you're thinking. Also, if there's something you want to see reviewed, don't forget to let me know and I will do my best to get to it. Lastly, if you want to see some more from me, then you can check out my vlogs linked up above or my podcast, Good Friends. Again, thank you for watching. My name is Diego and I will see you next time.